As a young player at Celtic, we were made to become runners at the coaching courses, and the runners meant that you had to go down in the summer and you became the guinea pigs for the coaches. And I used to go down, I had a couple of summers down there, and I loved it. I loved being around football people. I had a couple of weeks of being a midfield player, a right back, a centre forward, and you were learning all the jobs. You were learning twin striker play, you were learning overlapping full-backs, you were learning midfield support play. All these parts of the game I got very young. So when I reached about 20, 21, I decided to start my C licence in Scotland. Then I done my B licence, then I done my A licence, and I was a fully qualified coach in Scotland by the time I was, I think, 21, 22. By that time I had left Celtic and moved to England, and I was a bit worried that the Scottish coaching course might not be seen as well as maybe the English one. So I then got myself into the English one, and I went through the whole process again and done it all in England. So I don't know if there's many actually done their full coaching badges twice, but I certainly am one of them. I loved being around football people, and I have to tell you this about the SFA and the coaching courses in Scotland. Great managers gave up their time to come down and try and make me a coach or make other people coaches as well. And there's so much I wanted to learn at the time, and how they picked their teams, and just when they picked their teams, what was their team talks like. There was so many questions as a young coach I wanted to ask, and nowadays I'm the one who's trying to give that information back to the young coaches. The biggest mentor to me was Walter Smith. Andy Roxburgh and Walter Smith had been my Scottish youth team managers. Walter Smith, as everybody knows, went on to be incredibly successful at Glasgow Rangers. They managed Everton, Scotland at different times. So I always felt that I could phone Walter up. As I got a little bit older and into my journey of coaching, Sir Alex was someone who I would phone up with. I was getting offered an awful lot of jobs in my early days. As not long after I took the jobs at Preston, I was getting offered a lot of jobs, and I used to say, who am I going to phone? Who am I going to ask for advice? My dad was great. My dad was a football man, and I could go and ask football questions all the time. But in truth, when it got to the stage of knowing the professional game, the clubs, the understanding of how the clubs ran, there was only one or two people who I felt could give me advice, who could maybe just help steer me in one way or the other. Well, I had gone to Preston later near the end of my career, and I wasn't quite sure, where I was going. But I did know that I'd like to get into football coaching, but there's no guarantee. I wasn't necessarily a big name player, even though I had, throughout my career, I'd probably ended up with nearly 600 appearances as a player. And I had played in nearly all the leagues, which I've got to say I think was a help to me as well. When I did take the job at Preston, I never really wanted the job because I was a player. I had a player's contract. I was saying, do I want to give this up? What if I'm not wanted? And in truth, the Preston public, they wanted Joe Royle or Ian Rush as manager. They didn't want David Moyes as manager, because this was the thing. They wanted someone with a big name, someone who was sort of more exciting. So fortunate the chairman gave me the opportunity. I didn't take the job right away. I said I'd do it as a sort of caretaker job at the time. 5 or 6 games, I was player manager, played a couple of games, played terribly. We didn't really win. Took myself out the team and concentrated totally on the management. And from that point, I eventually took the job, and it went from strength to strength, really. I think when you get the job as a coach, if you think that I'm going to stick my feet under the table and sit at the desk and that's you, then, well, it's the last thing and the worst thing you can do. You have to be out there, you have to be looking, you have to be learning, you have to be improving, because if you don't, everybody else will do. So at that time, I was looking around to try and find where could I get information, where could I go? And we went to the World Cup. And I wrote to all the countries to see if I could come and watch the training. And at that time, I get no reply. The only country who replied to me was Scotland. Craig Brown was the manager now of Scotland. Craig Brown was the only guy who invited me to come and watch training. So I went and sat in Avignon, watched Scotland training. And to be fair, I have to say the PFA helped me greatly, because at that time we weren't earning a lot of money. So the PFA helped fund me to get to France to watch the training and to tour around. Got me some tickets for the games, and I went to Montpellier, went to all round the south of France watching the games and also watching Scotland training. I was trying to see what the good players were doing, what the good behaviour of these players are, how they're practising, when they're practising. I don't think I was actually seeing anything which was anything absolutely new. But the job as a coach is to go out and find something, or hear something, or understand something. And sometimes you can have practical sessions, sometimes it's classroom sessions which you pick it up in. But at that time I was out trying to get as much knowledge and understanding of dealing with players and the coaching and the understanding as what I could. I was brought up in the days with Celtic, and Celtic could never do anything else but attacking. The job was you had to attack, you had to play attacking football. It's what the crowd demanded, but you also had to play good football. So I think that was the way I believe I was brought up, and to integrate that into Preston, the players wanted the change. No, it wasn't of the possession we see maybe in today's modern football, but it was certainly of getting crosses in the box and the ball into the striker's feet. All those things were the things that we were working at regular. I believe we lost to Tony Pulis' Gillingham in the playoffs, and it was really disappointing because momentum's a big thing in football, and also getting the time to do the job, which is something which nowadays we're not seeing as much. But the momentum, I had started to get some momentum from avoiding relegation, from then growing in the league. And what happens is the players begin to believe in you as well. And the board are suddenly saying, hey, this is going in the right direction, we're winning. Everybody wants to win. Winning's the biggest thing. We can have all the different styles and philosophies you want, but if you win, then that gives you the biggest platform then to get time to go in the direction you want. I was beginning to get that. But unfortunately, the loss at Gillingham was devastating, because it was really the first real hiccup I had had since I had taken the job. We believed, and I'm going to say I expected. I've expected all my players. Whenever I play, I've expected all the players, because the work we do, the preparation, but mainly the work I would do on the training ground, that it would pay off eventually in the games. And I think all the players I've worked with I hope would probably say that. It wasn't a case of, we weren't high-fiving at ourselves every time we won the games. I was more saying, no, well, that's what you do. You're paid to do it. That's the way we work. Your job's to win.